I'm doing awesome. I'm doing awesome. That's fun.
Hey, we're back. All right. Let's go again. We'll start with the intro again. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Weekly Review, an MX Bikes Edits podcast where we go through and watch your content, submit our feedback, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I am Dylan Carlson, aka So-Called Designs. In studio with me is none other than the godfather of the rider feature edit, MurrayFilms. I am so excited to have you on board, man. Thanks for coming on the show, dude. Like it's incredible to have you in the booth or in on uh, on the show, man. Like I know you're one of the most highly requested guests that I've had in the last 3 months, and I'm just stoked to have a sit down and a conversation with you, man. So how's it going?
Oh man, I'm so glad to be here. I've always watched these, and you know, I just wanted to be on one. You asked me, and I definitely want to be on. So yeah, can't wait for to see watch these edits and all this stuff.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I like to start off the show whenever we have a guest is just do a little bit of an intro about yourself, like kind of how you got started with either playing bikes and then, kind of going towards like where you got started with editing and, how you progressed as an editor versus, whether that's style or kind of the way that you like to piece your stuff together. So,
Yeah, no, I honestly, I came from Sim. Not gonna lie, I literally came from Sim. I
mhm.
started editing on Sim like 5, 6 years ago on my old channel that sadly got deleted. Um, but basically, I got bikes 4 years ago, and I knew I wanted to make content on it. I wanted to be one of the ones to make content on it. And 4 years later, here I am now. Um, obviously, you know, all that. But yeah, I basically ever since I got the game, I
Mhm.
always wanted to be one of the editors for the game.
Hell
And
yeah.
now look at it.
Yeah, right.
And
I mean, honestly, dude, your stuff is super high quality, and I've had multiple guests on the show whenever they see, a rider feature that, and I think a lot of it comes down to the way that you shoot your stuff, right? So a lot of the shots that you
yeah,
have are extremely, well I like to say tight, so it's very close up. You know, you're getting a lot of that slow-mo action, more short form Insta-banger style of stuff. And every time we see a piece of content that's like that, it's like it's a Murray style edit. So, like I said, you are the grandfather of or the godfather, I should say, of the rider feature edit. I know people have they have their own style, but when it comes to shooting stuff like that, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry to know who started filming like that, at least for video games wise.
Yeah, I just literally took it from real life and just put it in the game. That's literally what I did,
Yeah.
and obviously it's working. So
Obviously, man, your stuff is super high quality. I think that a lot of people will benefit from your feedback tonight. And I mean, with that being said, let's get started. So, a little bit about the show. We like to feature content that is relatively new. So stuff that's been made, within the last 7 days. I will give people a grace period if they submitted last week. Unfortunately, I was super busy with work, and honestly, I've been just kind of running ragged, and I needed a week off. So I appreciate the folks that are sticking around and still want to watch the show. If you did submit last week and it's 2 weeks old, we're going to watch it because you took the time to submit. But I also like to feature content that's made in the last 7 days. It allows us to see the progression of a lot of the editors that do submit to this show, and a lot of the editors that, might just post content for fun and give our feedback that way. So without further ado, our first edit is called Thrill of It, featuring MX Charm. This is from Alpine Design Company. I have never seen any of this guy's content, so I have no
I
idea.
haven't either.
Minute 20. Let's get it going. Man, this is one of the most overused songs in my opinion.
I was gonna say something like that.
It's a good song.
Oh yeah, definitely.
College educated, she graduated. Any bill she can't front, her parents paid it. The show was far, you the only one with a car out your girlfriends. But being that she's a big fan, of course she made it. Most girls wanna hide the fact that the thrill they chasing, but you just wanna get drunk tonight and fuck someone famous. So I just name a time and a place, and you're game for it. Value player, hotel room, meet you there. Walking on a dream. How can I explain? Talking to myself. Just traveling the world. Will I see you again? Trying different drugs and girls. Yeah, we are always running for the thrill of it. Always pushing up the hill, searching for the thrill of it. All alone, we are calling out again. Never looking down, I'm just an aura, what's in front of me. Addicted to champagne.
Okay.
Huh. Okay.
All right. So, I'll kick it off. Okay, so it definitely feels like this guy's fairly new to making videos. With 9 subscribers, I mean, this is kind of what I would expect for somebody that's, just getting started out with. There was some really cool shots that he had, and a lot of it came towards the end. I really enjoyed his B-roll. It felt like it had everything in the works to kind of set the stage for an edit, right? Like, we're getting some logos splashing across the screen, a nice big cut to black, and then we get into some riding. The one thing that I noticed, and I don't want to pick on somebody too much about this, but as a new editor, I believe he does have reshade on because Bikes doesn't look this good on its own, but I don't think he has any sort of depth of field plugin on. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't. Unless he does have it on, but it's not working because you might have to do some stuff actually in game to make it work. But I think it is reshade on there. But yeah, no, not any depth field.
Yeah. But beyond that, I really just want to focus on the big glaring thing for myself, and it comes down to the camera work, right? So you saw it there on that last shot, right?
Yes.
So this shot, for all intents and purposes, starts great. It's a nice dolly shot. We get that little MX Bikes kind of physics glitch, and then it goes to static.
Yes.
So this is something that I see a lot with newer editors, right? So they'll get the shot that they like, and then as soon as that goes away, they just kind of stop. They stop the shot and they go to a static camera. And you see it throughout the edit, right? Like we can see it here.
Yeah.
And like it's really hard to pick up, but you can see it there. Yeah. It's just kind of throughout the entire of this project, or the entirety of this project. But for what, as a new editor, one thing that I think I talked about this with Sword on his episode, and it's called cut time, right? So inside your shots, you want to give yourself, I mean, it's all up to, you know, the editor's discretion, right? So for me, I like about 3 to 5 seconds before and after the shot, where there's nothing in frame other than like the track or whatever, just to allow myself time for that camera to not be static. So that's my big takeaway is if you work on your camera work a little bit more as far as progressing through those shots naturally, don't just immediately drop the sticks as soon as, you know, your rider's out of frame, because it's going to be really hard to edit that together. And if you do have pieces where you're seeing like that static frame, you need to cut them out and take the time to do it. Other than that, there's some really wonky like footage where, you know, we get this like weird follow cam stuff.
I just can't help but notice that like it went black and then he did some like a couple cinematics here, which was definitely weird, but I can see why you did it. Kinda.
Yeah, like we just kind of go into B-roll in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And then it's like this, right? So like this would be done on a drone. It has this weird like zoom thing to it, and it
Then the writer. So it's like I think that's definitely the problem with new editors is definitely the camera work. I feel like they try to do too much camera work.
Yeah.
And it ends up kind of not being that flowy.
Yeah, so and that's kind of the big takeaway from this one for me, right? Is I feel like Alpine was really trying to, you know, come out swinging for this one. And what ended up happening was, you know, we're doing a lot with the camera to try to keep this shot looking cool and what have you. But what it lends itself to is it's too much for a new editor to take on. Once you start to find your style and figure out the camera settings and all of that inside of bikes, you can start doing more complex stuff. But what I will say, and I've said it a ton of times on this show, is less is more. Setting up shots that are from either a static position where you kind of move naturally through the shot, versus, you know, trying to do all this crazy follow cam or drone cam or something like that. Like it's really hard to make that stuff look good in bikes, specifically because you have to use the joysticks. And it just ends up looking a little wonky. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, you kind of touched on everything, really. I mean, it all comes down to learning how to learning how the camera works, learning how to get those right angles and the right type of movement in order to make yourself a really, really good edit, in my personality. My personal thing. So the quality seemed really good. Like quality was really good. It's just camera work.
Yeah. I think Alpine's he's got all the tools in his toolbox to become a really solid editor. I like that he had bike sounds. Again, like we kind of threw a little bit of shade. Like this song is super popular, so I've heard it. I've heard it probably a dozen times in edits across the last couple of months. Which it's fine. Like a popular song, it's what it's gonna be, right? Other than that, So like going back to the camera work stuff, we saw all this wonky stuff going on in the beginning, right? But then
Mhm.
towards the end of the edit, like it seemed to get better. Like this shot was really cool, and so was
Yeah.
this. Like,
Yeah. No,
like even that, like aside from the little static at the end, like this is really
Mhm.
well shot. I
yeah, like it picked up like 30 seconds to the end, like some of them shots were actually really good.
yeah,
Like
like
the one after this one was pretty good.
yeah, like I like this. This is, well shot. It's
Yeah.
just that little
Like this one was really good. Like this one, the one he's jumping over that, like that was a really good shot. He was panning out.
yeah.
That was perfect.
Yeah, so focus on like what you did here in these last couple of shots and
Hmm.
just kind of work with that a little bit more. Clean up those, the panning to like actually follow through naturally. Don't just stop it immediately after Ryder gets out of frame. Give yourself time as an editor to actually go through and trim the content down or trim the clips down to be able to actually like do a solid job of piecing together a nice project. But like I said, man, you've got all of the stuff or all of the tools in your toolbox to become a really good editor. And towards the back end of this edit, it was really solid. And definitely keep doing stuff like that, and you'll be way better off. All right.
Yeah. And another thing is just try to work on trying to get some depth of field in there. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like if you had a little bit of depth of field in there, it would have probably made it a lot more better.
Yeah. If you're trying to achieve that realistic look, which I feel like a
Yep.
lot of people that are doing edits, like that's kind of the top priority, right? Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really hard thing to dial in. It's not one of
Yep.
those things that you set it and forget it. You have to adjust it
Mhm.
shot by shot. But for all intents and purposes, like that's something where if you don't have depth of field on, but your camera work is good,
Mhm.
like it's a lot easier to talk about, oh, your depth of field not being on, and that's an
Yeah.
easy fix versus fixing your camera work. So
Yep.
all right. Awesome job, man. Keep it up. I want to see more from you. All right. This next one is from Splash. It's Coxie Normsco.
Motherfucker, I've been mortified, fortified, feeling like a Mordecai. I ain't regular, feel like Jordan wearing 45. Traumatized, victimized, seen some of my niggas die. Knock you off a base with a bat when them niggas slide. Homicide, genocide, televised, emphasize, perpetuating war. Tell that nigga he gon' pick a side. Hood ties from hood lines, now niggas doing dope lines. Don't run into the cops, that's a bitch, nigga exercise. Don't run into the cops, that's the motto. I don't see it coming to an end like legato. Niggas get chipped like staccato, send a wave through the hood, now sounding like vibrato. Why you eat bread with avocado? We be trying to die shells before it landing our tomato. Singing all my sorrows on Apollo. I've been trying to pave the way, but they didn't tell me it was potholes. America ain't dreaming, it been scheming when the birth of a nation came from black niggas seeming. We all know it's black nigga genius. Everybody love the culture, they be black by convenience. Sounding like a real nigga anthem. Shawty saw my wallet, now she think a nigga handsome. Whoa, telling me she wanted me to hammer. Trying to get saved, baby, I am not the answer. No, I can never trick on the bench, let the bench
Nice.
be my bench with a kiss on my
Honestly, at first I thought that was one of my edits.
Yeah.
The way that kind of started off in that first like 3 clips, I literally thought that was mine. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was like, damn, okay, I like this.
Yeah, this is really solid.
Yeah.
Like the way it's shot, the motion blur is, I mean, it's a little much.
I think it's a tiny bit too much because you can definitely see the clipping of the rider around the whole entire rider. You see it on that clip.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like
It is very hard, dude.
it's so hard, especially if you're using like either like an RSMB or the motion.
Which is that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's RSMB because I use RSMB, but I've been really trying to dial in the RSMB lately to make sure
Yeah.
it doesn't clip as much. But I mean,
When-
it's so hard.
Yeah. And like RSMB, in my opinion, is a great tool. It's first of all, it's really expensive if you're not going to be doing editing a lot. It's probably not worth it if you're just starting out. They have native motion blur plugins on Reshade. They're not as good, but they'll get you
They
by.
drop your FPS a lot.
Yes. Oh, speaking
Like-
of that,
Oh yeah, I was gonna say something about that. The FPS counter.
Ooh, damn,
Oh,
dude. That's
if you would have
tough.
put black bars, that would have been probably a lot better.
Yep, if you have black bars, that solves your problem. You don't get hung out to dry. But unfortunately, you didn't put black bars in, and that it's right there, front and center. Well, not front and center. It's tough to
You
see.
can see it. You can
You can
see it.
see it, especially if somebody does a still image. It's tough. But yeah, like I just got RSMB as far as like a plugin that I thought might be worthwhile. I haven't played around with it too much, but I will say that I think the motion blur is a little high just for the fact that the way that he shot this is a lot of like really high camera motion, but there are some shots where we see it like not really. I don't know. It's just it's a lot in a lot of the shots. Specifically, I think it's probably this clip here. It's like one of the opening clips. Like it looks sick.
Like honestly, that clip right there is honestly one of the sickest clips I've ever seen.
Yeah, like
Honestly.
that's really good. But then we have this like super far away one, and
Yeah.
it's like following the rider. So for me, it's really tough to shoot in a supercross environment.
Especially in a stadium.
Yeah, like
On a regular supercross track, it's pretty easy, but on a stadium, it's very hard. That's
yeah,
why I don't do them as much.
yeah. And I know it sucks with bikes. Like you pay all this
Yeah.
money to have these nice tracks because like Stone Rider does such a good job with his environment and everything. Like
Yeah.
they're really high quality and they're I want to say that they're good to film on, but they're not in a sense of like there is a stadium full of people and
Mhm.
there's only one guy on the track. So
Yeah.
it's really tough to shoot this style of stuff, especially like this shot, right? So like it would be it looks like he's actually rolling backwards. Yeah, it's like following the rider. So like setting that shot up in real life would be next to impossible unless you were an outstanding drone operator.
Yeah, you have to have an FPV drone for that one.
Yeah. It's going to be tough regardless. But
Yeah.
stuff like that, like it's one of those things. But like the close-up shots are great. I really
Mhm.
like this one. Aside from the snap zoom, man, like I
Yes. The snap zoom. I saw a couple in there. I was like, okay,
so
it's not
yeah.
too bad. But
One thing that I will say about, and I'm kind of going in on Splash here. He did submit, just for clarification. Submissions get looked at through a hypercritical lens, so we don't have to feel like too bad. But snap zooms, I feel like in bikes edits are so overdone, and the reason why is 9 times out of 10 they're attached to a push button and not a trigger. So
yeah.
on an actual camera, if you were going to do a snap zoom, like it would be very linear in movement and then it would almost like tail off towards the end as you found that. But your field of view is also going to change, or your depth of field is going to change a lot when you do that. So
Yep.
when you go to film stuff, like all of your depth of field is like your autofocus, all of that shit is all set for a specific shot. It's how
Mhm.
that's just how cameras work. It's
Yep.
like you don't deviate from that distance very much because it can fuck up your shot and you're going to ruin it. However, with the way that reshade works, it's all based on distance from the actual camera lens, and it's like digitally doing it, so it's really tricky. And snap zooms in general, in my opinion, ruin that immersion for me because it just doesn't look right a lot of the times.
Yeah.
I don't think Splash is as egregious as some of the people that I've seen with snap zooms.
No,
But
definitely not.
it's just one of those things where I tend to not use them unless I'm doing like some B-roll shots, right? So, you
Yeah.
know, like you would be walking around and like you zoom in, and I'm guilty of it too. Like there are really
No,
cool.
yeah. I'm pretty much I've done it a couple times. Like guilty of it too, but I don't. I used to do it a lot back in the day when I first started. Like that's kind of what's bad about the newer editors is they, you know, it looks cool, but then it's like not close to any realistic, and it's just like just for fun. But
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it too. I've done it. I've done it too.
Yeah. Other than that, like I really liked the corner shots. They were super solid, and like I mean you can just see like how
Like that
much.
was really that's good tracking. Like honestly,
Yeah. Yeah. Like
even though it was slowed down though, because to do that fast of tracking, you have to slow it down. Like you have to go slow mo in game.
Yeah. But I mean it's not the end of the world. Like
No, that's what I do. Literally.
it's super good tracking. Like he keeps the rider. Yeah, a little bit of a snap zoom out, but it's like that right there is it's not like I don't hate that because
It wasn't as fast, but it wasn't snappy, but it was still fast.
yeah, it's fast enough, but it's going into a transition. We're not holding like if you're going to do a snap zoom, have that be either the beginning
Going
or
into another one.
yeah, like the end of the clip where you're just like zooming in because as an editor, like you wouldn't be worried or a filmer, you wouldn't be worried about trying to salvage the end of that. Like that looked cool as far as a zoom would be concerned.
So for me, like the only criticism I have is like you start your videos out really zoomed in, but then you zoom out as long like pretty far out. If you can, I would honestly just meet right in the middle and just leave it at one FOV and maybe come back just a little bit or come like maybe start back. I don't know how to put this, but like start like kind of wider on the clip and then like in post probably zoom in while you're going in instead of coming out. I feel like it's more better for me.
Yeah, and with post, there's a lot of like tricks that you can do.
Oh, there's so much you can do in post, man.
With your footage to make it, you know, like After Effects. We could talk about After Effects forever on like how incredible that program is as a post-processing engine for like edits or footage. It's insane what you can do with After Effects. INT does some insane stuff with After Effects, but yeah, like
I really want to get. I'm gonna probably start getting more into After Effects.
dude, it's a wild program, man. Like you can do
It
some
is.
gnarly stuff in there. But it takes a lot of time. Like if you think learning Premiere was tough, dude,
Well, I already know how to use like After Effects because I use like I don't know if you've seen my stuff, but I kind of make like movie edits. If you ever seen the movie edits,
yeah.
I make those for like TikTok and stuff. So
Oh,
I know
okay.
how to work After Effects, but
Sick.
it's just like for me on After Effects, it's just like the timer mapping. That's the only thing I got to get used to. But
Yeah.
honestly, yeah.
But no, this was super solid. Like the quality's all there. The reshade looks really good. I mean, you could probably dial back your depth of field settings just a shade to not have so much blur. But other than that, like
this was probably like this was a really good edit. Like I haven't seen this one yet, and this one kind of impressed me.
Yeah, no, I thought this was very solid. As far as like edits go, I don't think Splash does a whole lot of editing, but yeah, this was definitely like really, really solid for you know, somebody that doesn't do this as like their main thing. Yeah, dial in, you know, your reshade depth of field just a little bit, and then the RSMB, take your motion blur down just a shade, and it'll look really solid. Song choice was really good. I really liked. There's a portion. Yeah, so we get it's like a portion of the yeah, you can see why I'm saying dial back your RSMB because you start to get this like weird bubble effect. But it like it's really hard to see that if you're not, you know, stopped. But like I'll just turn the audio on. Like we get this really cool like just vocal.
And back on it, yeah, I like that.
That was
different.
that was sick. And I like that he had a bike sound coming in. Like, dude, you're like dirt bike edits. They need dirt bike sounds. You did a great job with that. Like, solid job. Just a couple of little nitpicky things. But hell yeah, this is sick. Good job, man. All right, moving on. We got Jack's Visuals, Dreamland. I've seen some
Before
of
you
this.
start it, I just said splash. Splash. If you want to learn how to like, if you want like some good RSMB settings, hit me up on Discord. I can give you some. Don't worry about it. 'Cause I got some.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but
Oh, that was his 4th edit.
yeah,
Dang, nice. That's incredible, man.
that's incredible for your 4th edit. So
For the
keep it up.
For the 4th one, holy shit, dude, that's really solid.
Yeah.
All right, Dreamland, Jack's Visuals. Renson's place, so sick. Okay.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is how did those black bars get like that?
Yeah, so it looks like there's like a blur on them at the top.
So blur on them, but it's like almost embedded like into the video.
Yeah.
Like actual like really recorded it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's another FPS thing.
Yep.
I don't know how that happened when there's black bars and there's still FPS over there. That I'm just confused about that. I don't know how that. I've never seen that before. I've never.
Yeah. So it's really weird to tell because you can see it when he does this film burn. I can't remember where it's like right away.
Like
Yeah. So I'm assuming that this was put on under like his adjustment layer that has the film burn or like any sort of transitions or anything like that. And like I just don't. Why is it?
I'm just confused on like how the FPS is over it.
Right. Like
So that's what I'm thinking. Saying like it's like he it's like he put it in the actual like he recorded it like with the reshade like with on it. Like I feel like.
Yeah, because if you look at it here, I mean,
Maybe not. I don't. That's weird. I don't know. That's just weird. But anyways, all right.
It's really tough to tell because like there's a little bit of a blur, but I don't know how you would get that to look like that because it's almost
Look at the background's blurred, but the black bars are blurred too.
Yeah, I mean this is, but the FPS counter isn't. So I'm
honestly confused. But anyways, let's just.
Yeah, I don't know how this happened or why it happened because like this doesn't make any sense, especially with the way that it opens. But yeah, so one thing like black bars should always be done in post and they should be the top layer.
Very top layer. Very top layer. Everything should be under it.
Yeah. If you're gonna do that, it would have gotten rid of your FPS counter, which I don't know if he watches this show at all, but I've featured his content a couple of times, and that is a reoccurring thing. For all intents and purposes, like Yeah, the depth of field setting's a little high, but I mean, for
Yeah.
as close of a shot as this is, like, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
say that this isn't possible. He's getting a little
No,
bit
that's
of that.
possible because mine does that too. Like my IRL camera, it does that. Like my f-stop, it
Yeah,
when I'm zoomed in, it's pretty blurred.
yeah. Like
So
you,
I wouldn't criticize. It actually looks. I
it
mean,
looks, it
looks
looks,
pretty good.
it looks good for as tight
Yeah.
as this shot is. Like he's got a little bit
Mhm.
of a bokeh here, but like I
Yeah.
don't hate it.
No, it's definitely not overbearing, which is good.
Then there's some other like, man, it's so tough with bikes and like the textures.
It is. The
Um,
trees, especially the trees.
yeah, like if this was a higher quality model of a tree, I can understand like doing
Hmm.
something like this. I understand what you're trying to get at here, like a nice scenic shot. One thing that I would say, I don't know if you put it in there at all, a lens flare for sure right here. Your camera is staring directly into the sun. So you're going to get a lot of lens flare, like almost completely blowing out your image to a point. But other than
Yeah.
that, uh, like the depth of field settings aren't bad here. You're getting some clipping here. Like it's like this force field where you can see the grass isn't blurred. It's not gradual. So the either the aperture number or the f-stop blur intensity is just a shade high for that. Um,
Compared to probably how far or near the setting
yeah,
is on a depth of field, I feel like yeah,
yeah. But other than yeah, dude, it's so tough with the textures because like
it is.
it can ruin it. So I'm not gonna harp on it too
No,
much.
no.
Um,
Okay, this clip, I don't know honestly. Like, I don't know why it's so rolled.
mhm.
Honestly, like this clip would have been probably like really good straight or just a little bit rolled, but the excessive roll kind of threw it off to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's really it. Really, let's get
Yeah.
at it.
So one thing, like I do want to touch on camera rolling because I've seen it a lot and some people
Hmm.
are really egregious with it. Like,
Yep. Like I got sometimes I gotta turn my head to see it.
yeah, like camera roll, what I like to set my camera roll at, if I'm going to roll it all, it's to make sure that the horizon line, so any sort of lateral line, which this would be, is
Mhm.
like it should be almost in the same spot across. It should never leave that center third as far as
Yep.
camera roll is concerned. Like it
Mm.
just never looks good because you're going from basically the top right corner to the center left
Yeah.
down at the bottom, and it looks really unnatural. It's really hard to look at, kind of abrasive. But other than that, like the camera work's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
th-
Just clean up a couple things on the camera work and
yeah,
maybe just dial in your reshape, like dial in the depth of field a little bit because he was out of see like at the start of that clip he was out of focus. Like you
yeah.
can see it coming out a little bit out of focus. So if you just dial that in, I mean it'll make the video like wonders.
So like that's what's so weird to me, right? It's
Hmm.
almost like I think this is what happened. He's got a blur at the
Okay,
top
yeah, yeah, I kind
third
of do see that.
and the bottom third over the top of his black bars. And that's why we're getting this
Yeah.
weird effect.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, I can see it. Actually, yeah, with this clip, I can see it.
But that doesn't make
Huh.
that doesn't make any sense because the FPS counter would be I don't know. This
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. It's
this
confusing, but
this
you
is
know,
throwing me for a loop.
it's all good. It's a good one.
But yeah, so like then you like the snap zoom. I mean it's just I don't know. It's just corny. But other than that, like this is
Like
fairly
that's a
well
really
shot.
good clip. Like that was a real like honestly, I probably use one of those clips, like the far out.
Yeah.
Those clips are good. I wouldn't zoom out that far. That was a little too much zoom out far. I feel like.
Yeah, it's just okay, so what I will say, if you're gonna do a really wide angle shot like this,
Hmm.
it's nice to have your rider come into focus a lit. Like I don't know if I would zoom out even more. I get it; it's really hard to track the rider. Um,
Hmm.
f-
It
at
is one of
f-
fast mo.
yeah,
Fast is really hard. You got to be on the wide angle.
yeah. But like honestly, so one thing that I've said is, rider tracking is not um like it's not a do or die situation, right? So
No,
like,
like honestly, like as long as your rider's in the shot and it's fairly like you're trying to, but it's like fairly and like as long as you don't lose him, that's all that matters. As long as you don't lose your rider,
yeah.
that's all that matters.
And if you're going to shoot and like try to, you know, use rider tracking very close up and you do lose the rider for a second inside the frame, it's not the end of the world as long as you
No.
catch up. So like, especially like corners with a jump that you're shooting that really tight and then it like the rider whips out of frame, like nobody's going to really care as long as you pick it up on the back end of that shot. But I don't think I think you're doing yourself a disservice here by zooming out to keep that rider in the center of the frame. You don't have to do that. It's one
You
of
don't
those.
have to keep it 100% in the center all the time.
Nope. Using, you know, the rule of thirds, 3 lines vertical, or 3 sections vertical and laterally. And it's as long as your rider stays in one of those thirds and it progresses through the shot naturally, it looks just fine. Other than that, like,
I don't know. That's a good edit. I mean, I just fix those things really, and you got yourself some good stuff because you already he has a good platter to start on. He just needs to work on those things and just clean it up a little bit. And that's it.
Yeah, and get rid of your FPS counter, man. I honestly I don't know how this is.
That's still tripping me to this day. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, wild.
All right,
but all right, on to the next one. All right, we got Fractal Design or Fractal. The race featuring Cruz. I don't know.
Cruz. Okay.
Maybe minute 27. Let's go.
So I'm sure that I could possibly do nothing for you. I'm nearly on the edge. I'm about to jump in the fuel. I'm really not afraid of nothing.
Oi, bro, want to race?
Yeah, I'm down.
But whoever loses has to sell their bike.
Haha, you're not winning.
Okay, little bro.
AI voiceover. Boboso gear and numbers. Oh no.
Oh no. Handlebars.
Look, on everything, I gave everything and got nothing back. Ain't looking for it, no pedal backs. That ain't how we got where the fuck we at. Mama called, where the fuck you at? On the road and ain't coming back. Into my 100 stacks, make 100 racks. And that 100 racks bring a bundle back. I was blowing gas like the honey badger. JID, bitch, the money snatcher. Say la vie shit, I'm coming after everybody. Don't get the bloody splatter. I'm flying, I got my niggas fly too. Shit is like buddy passes. I wanna cry cause I'm numb inside. If you wonder why, ask what's the matter. Cause I've been working hella hard. Shit ain't really working out. I've been praying to the Lord. Shit ain't really working out. I've been looking to the stars. Keep my head up in the clouds. Shit ain't...
I don't know where to start.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't even know if this was really an edit. Really, I feel like this was just kind of like I don't know how to put it.
I think this guy was very much just trying to have fun and put out.
I think
piece
it
of
was just
content.
I think it was just trying to put out something funny, which is I mean, all power to you, man.
Hell yeah, if you're having fun with it. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because
I probably won't much either.
Yeah.
I mean,
The one thing that really stuck out, like aside from the AI voiceover, like I've used AI voiceovers, but I've done it a lot smoother. It's just really tough to get it right, and whatever, man. Like, a lot of the times if you're just trying to have fun, but one thing is like if you're gonna do an edit, like make sure that you.
I feel like he recorded this while they're in the server.
Yeah, like just
I
save
don't
the
think he
replay.
saved the replay. Yeah, I don't think they saved the replay. I think they just recorded it straight from the actual server.
Yeah.
But they got the hand effect.
Yeah, so it's tough. Like you really have to, do your due diligence, save the replay. Also, like download your buddy's gear because
Yeah.
both so
I mean, he's
geared.
got the helmet and stuff, but the gear and the boots and the
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah, there's just a lot of missed opportunity there, in my opinion. Other than that, like like you have to
mean,
save it.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spend too much time. The pacing was a little slow, like a lot of slow-mo, man. You gotta pick up the
I
pace
felt
a
like
little bit.
what's it called? The bike sounds were kind of not aligned with the actual video. I felt like kind of was kind of like behind or in front.
Yeah, which you'll have that if you're, filming from a server and not saving the replay and going back and doing it, which is good to note because if you are going to film and edit and you don't have your friend's kit, you can save the replay and download the
Yep.
kit and
Download
it'll
all the
pop
kit,
up.
all the stuff it'll automatically put on it. Yep.
Yep. It's so much easier to do that than it is to, try to make sure you have everybody's gear. Yeah. I don't know, man.
Not
If
much
you're
to
just
say much.
if you're just trying to have fun with it, keep
Yeah.
having fun.
Yeah, keep having fun with it.
All right, we got Kleb. He did not submit,
Gleb.
but
I
I will say this about Kleb. Kleb is almost featured every week. He's a content machine. I don't know how
He is a
puts-
content machine. I've seen like every time I don't know why, but every time I pop on my YouTube, there's always one by him.
Dude,
So
I don't.
it's like, all right, I'll watch it. It's all good.
Homie's insane, and he's improved so much from when
He has improved. He has improved. I've been watching him since he started, and they have come miles away from what he started with.
absolutely.
So, I haven't seen this one. So
I have not seen it either. I will say this. I don't watch a lot of MX Bikes edits just because of this show. Because like
Yeah.
if I watch something, I'm already gonna be like have a preconception of like what's going on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anyways, Kleb, let's see what you got. Old song.
Old song.
Water.
Stone, 2 damn phones, Babylons can't crack the code. Used to sip out styrofoam, but figured I should stick to drink. Backwoods overload, don't like to smoke them swishers. If you hit my liquor store, it's 50 cents for single post. Said she wanna roll with me and smoke up all my. I said, baby, just buy that cheese. 'Cause
Censored.
you can't smoke for free. I got some love, but no money, babe. I be on Fiji. She said you need a job, don't shit the job, I still get cheese. 2 cell phones, Mr. Motherfucker, dot, Mr.
Oh no.
Censored.
Oh, come on, brother.
Okay. I have to say one thing about like the outdoor tracks.
Yeah.
Is like if you're doing like sounds, I hate that they added the
horn.
air horn stuff. Yes. It auto censored. Oh really?
What? No way.
No way. Auto censored. That sucks. That sucks.
Oh, boo you, YouTube. Everybody boo YouTube. I actually don't. I'll get banned. I don't know. Whatever. It won't be the end of the world. But yeah. Yeah. So like, I feel bad because I've harped on Kleb for so long about putting bike sounds in his edits, and like the bike sounds really good. Like it's mixed well. It's not overbearing. He has it throughout, and it's not just like one little blip where I'm like, oh, good, he finally put it in. No, like he did a really good job of putting bike sounds on here, and I understand like a lot of people. This is going back to filming inside of stadiums, filming at these outdoor tracks where they have like environment sounds. It's great for a racing environment.
Yeah, great for racing, great for riding on it, but for editing and for making videos, it sucks.
Yeah, it's really tough. And dude, there's even tracks, and it comes down to the track creator. Like some track creators do a really good job of only having that environment sound like be very quiet, and so it's just kind of subtle.
Like
in the
if there's
background.
like birds chirping and stuff like that, like I'm totally for it because that's honestly that makes like the videos awesome. If they have birds chirping and they have like some like all this like wind noise kind of, but
Ambient stuff.
yeah, a little ambient stuff. But yeah, like honestly, this clip right here, this
Yeah.
is like a special of mine. I know where he probably got this from. It was probably from me. I love the head turning, and I just love the way that those clips look to me because I use it a lot.
I mean,
it's really smooth.
Yeah. There's one thing that I will say is like Kleb's quality is very high. He does an
It is
insane
very
job.
high, 4K, very, 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 very good for
Yeah.
quality wise.
Yeah, like there's no complaints from me in that department.
No complaint.
He makes bikes look beautiful. Like the depth of field is pretty spot on. I don't know if
Yeah.
he's been dialing it in over time.
Okay, so this clip, like, so I was black for a little bit. I feel like that was a little bit too long, black. So it was like 4 or 5 seconds.
17. Yeah, but it's like a fade.
It's a fade.
18.
But what I would have done is like, obviously you had like a fast clip. I would have probably faded out the actual like bike sounds a little bit more and faded it in, so it's kind of like fading in, and then right as you get there, it's like almost full.
Sure. So like reduce the opacity of the actual clip.
Reduce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not like actually a clip. This I'm just talking about the audio.
Oh, sure.
So like you have something like you have something to hear.
Yeah.
Because like it was just kind of like a sudden drop of it.
Yeah.
I felt like if you would have dragged it out just a little bit on the sound,
Yeah.
it would have been a lot better. But that's the only thing. That's all.
I'm nitpicking there for sure. Like it's really hard to, pick apart a piece of content that's really, really high quality.
Really. Yeah, no, like anything. That's the only nitpick I have. Everything else is spot on. Like there was one clip that I did see when he was doing a whip. He was kind of out of the frame. I don't know if that was intentional. I think it's a little bit more. I think it was after this clip. Yeah, he was just a little bit out, and I felt like if he was just a little bit more in the center-ish, kind of down a little up a little more, it would have been.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's the only way. Everything else was literally perfect.
Yeah. Like this is really well shot as far as like his camera work and what he's been doing since he first was featured on this show. Like this is really well done.
Not too much movement. Literally like just the right amount of movement.
Like this is a great example of rider tracking. I wish we would have held on just a little bit longer. I'm sure he was trying to sync it to the song.
Yes.
Because
yeah,
I wanted to
sync it to the song.
I wanted to see how tight that shot was gonna get with that wheelie, especially if you would have done like a speed ramp at the end
I was just gonna say,
slow it down.
Yep.
That would
I
have
was
been
just gonna say that.
That would have been really sick. But
That
again,
would've been sick.
no, this is super well done, man. Congratulations. Like this is a great piece of work.
You're upcoming, man. Keep it doing it. Keep going.
All
Honestly,
right.
it's worth it.
We got Opium Films Revelations 4K.
Oh, the hills.
Oh no. That's sick.
That last clip is sick. That last
Okay.
clip was really sick.
Okay. This is the hills, right?
Yep, this is the hills.
Okay. I'm not sure if 3D grass was turned on.
It's not.
Okay, because I was gonna say, like, this does not look anything like what PAX put out on.
No, it's 3D grass stuff. It honestly reduces the FPS a lot with the 3D grass. So if you don't have a really good computer, you will struggle.
Yeah.
So I can see why he has it off, probably because it probably doesn't look the best.
Well,
But-
but okay, so here's what I'll say. If you're saving a replay, which he clearly did, you should be able to edit. Like, I mean, again, if you're running MX bikes on like a TI-85, yeah, probably not going to be able to do that. But it's really hard. Like, the textures with this off look, it just kind of ruins it for me because the grass texture is so bright with the reshade.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely bright.
But other than that, like, I like that, you know, he's exploring with the fact that he's got you know, bike sounds that came from a third party source. So
I will say if you have the bike sounds, please try to keep it to like 450 and just 450 and not go back from 250 to 450.
Yeah.
It kind of throws it off a little bit because when I first heard it, I was like, okay, 450. Then we were back to 250. So it's like, just keep one
yeah,
and stick with it.
try to find the same manufacturer too, or like
Yep.
the same bike realistically to get those correct. But I don't know, it's so tough with that. Like, you're talking about audio editing, like, this is
Yeah.
camera work's pretty solid. The shots are cool. Depth of field's just a little weird. I mean, we're looking at stills here, but it's not terrible. He's got
No, it's not terrible.
he's got some motion blur. Yeah, so I think, like, I see it a lot, especially with like free ride stuff. Like, people tend to do a lot of rider tracking with longer shots. And it's so tough, right? Because we're talking about keeping your viewers' attention for realistically, it's if you don't have something changing like every 4 to 5 seconds as far as clip length, like, it gets boring quick. So you have almost a 2-minute project or a 2-minute piece of work, and there's a lot of shots that are really long and take a long time to progress through. And it felt like they were almost like in a row too. So one thing, and what we're talking about is pacing, right? So the pacing was a little slow, in my opinion, for something like this. And it happens a lot with these free ride edits because the lines are long and they're very cool. So when you're filming it from a static position or trying to do some like cinematic camera work, it's really tough to keep your viewer engaged when you do that. So maybe speed up.
It's just,
Yeah, go ahead.
it's not
Sorry.
about speeding it up. Oh, sorry. I feel like it's not about like speeding it up. I feel like it's more like having more angles in the same, like getting the same dots, but different angles so you can keep your viewer more engaged throughout the whole entire like section of what you're doing for free ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing with free ride.
Yeah, and like, I've never shot anything that's like free ride specific. I'm not a huge free ride guy, so I should really try, because I know it's tough. Like, what Seabigs does, what Pax does, Pelster, like all those guys that are doing this stuff, like super like Cali Hill style editing, like, it's really well done, and the way that they do it is insane. And it's like incredible to see like those guys put out a free ride piece of content. It's like, holy shit, dude, did Red Bull shoot this? Like, what the fuck? But again, like, they do a very good job of having a long line or a shot that is keeping the viewer engaged because there's multiple things to look at, right? So like, for instance, in Pax's new piece of work, which if you guys haven't checked that out, dude, it's
Go watch it. Go watch it.
it's
Is
so good.
It's amazing. Amazing.
It's like just over 6 minutes, and it's so well put together. I know he's super proud of it. It's really well done. But
Amazing.
when you're doing a free ride edit that's just one person, you have to switch up the angles and keep the viewer engaged, especially on these longer lines, because you don't have multiple people doing different things. So like there's shots in Pax's edit where guys are, there's 3 riders in a train over this one line, and then off in the background as the camera's panning or like zooming through it, there's more shit going on. So it's a long clip, but there's multiple different things going on when you're filming.
Action everywhere.
Yeah,
What you need.
when you're filming a single person, it's really tough to hold on to. Like, for instance, we'll just take, I think it was this clip. We'll take this clip, for instance. This is 31. Yeah,
31.
31. And, I mean, we're still going with it at 38.
About 7 seconds or so.
Like, it's a little long, but it, like, again, it just, there was a lot of shots that were like, okay, like we need to pick it up. I don't mind the backing track. Like, everybody likes their own certain style of music. It's very Crusty Demons-esque, which is kind of a throwback. Other than that, what else did I say? Oh yeah, I want to talk about this egregious fucking thing at the beginning of this shit. Oh my god, this made me so mad.
What was it? I must have missed it.
Where is it? It's like right at the beginning. That.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Opium,
okay.
if you see this, man, like you're coming a long ways with your content, but never do this again. This was bad. This is so bad. You did a nice cross dissolve beforehand and then just kind of slap this in here, and oh man, like don't do this. This is really hard to look at. It really just adds like a level of corniness to your editing. I like the Supercross section. One thing I will say, and this is kind of going back to that pacing thing, I got distracted with this.
Very long clip. That was one of the longest clips.
Yeah, so this starts at 15, 14, 115, and are we off of it
I think
here?
we're still. Yeah, it just crosses all off of it.
Yeah, well, so 17 seconds, man. Like, that's way, way too long to have one continuous shot, especially for an edit. Well, but other than that, like, no, this was fun. I can't really give too much criticism for free ride stuff because I don't film any free ride stuff. I know what good free ride stuff looks like, and that's all I'm basing this off of. Other than that, like, I know what good film work looks like, and he's got it for the most part. There's some stuff that I would clean up on that end, but other than that, like, 3D grass is critical. Like, this game already looks kind of bad when you don't have it on. But yeah, no. Other than that, good job, man. Keep it up.
Yep.
All right. I mean,
Oh, Sword.
going back to the hills. The Sword.
Back to the hills for Sword.
I have not seen this at all.
I haven't either. I have not either. So it's a new
Almost
me.
3 minutes.
Almost 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Damn.
I'm excited.
I'll turn this damn bus around. That'll end your precious little field trip pretty damn good, huh?
Yeah. All right. This already looks
It already
way
seems
better.
pretty good.
Got the bike sounds. Oh God.
Damn.
That's sick.
Damn. Good drone work.
Just throw it back for one more night on a starlit and moonstruck night. Follow my love, I did deeper. Running the raptors, the angels sing. Spinning by moments and playing with my
Oh,
Damn, that's a really
almost slipped. Hell yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's Sword. Like,
I mean, it's word. Yeah.
it's hard to argue with what he does. Like, his stuff is really solid.
Just one thing
Mhm.
that we always talk about it is the zooms. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, but that, like,
But I mean, honestly, it actually looks really good though. Like the way
Yeah.
he did it. I mean, a couple of them he could have probably not done it, but most of them were decently decently used. But other than that, man, you can't say much about Sword. I mean, he's good.
yeah, and I think that's his style. Like, the zooms, yeah, that
Yeah,
was
it's his title.
like, that's kind of his style of shooting. You know what I will say is, like, we harp on people for doing snap zooms all the time, and there is
Yeah, no,
there is a lot in this edit.
Yeah.
But he does it in a way where it's clean enough and it's not like overly done. So there's only like a couple of clips that I saw where I was like, all right, like that's a little much. But for the most part, what I really want to talk about is, it's in the opening shot. This drone work is
That drone work is really good.
so good. Well, like, you can see it. It's very subtle, and I know this shot probably took forever, and he probably got to the point where he's like, I don't care anymore.
I'm just running it.
But like,
Yeah, no,
you see that little lift, and it's not like entirely smooth, but this shot, like, it makes up for it on the back end, because this right here is so hard to film.
No, dude, I've tried drone shots like that, man. I don't know how they have the patience to do it, because I don't.
Yeah, like,
It's so hard.
I am not critiquing that little blip in camera work at all, because that shot is so hard to set up, and he did a very good job towards the back end of it. Like, props to you, man. That was really, really difficult. Other than that, I do want to talk about this, though. Okay, so he's got like underlying drone audio, but
Yeah, I did hear that.
no bike sounds, which kind of drove me a little nuts. Just because you would hear the bike. If you can hear the drone, you can hear the bike. So a little bit of immersion there. Other than that, like, the shot was cool. I like the fact that, people are starting to explore with audio editing, because that's, the next
I like it.
Yeah. Other than that, dude, the reshade is on point. I really like his color grading. It's got this very moody feel to it. Normally, like, Sword stuff is really dark, and this is on the lighter side, I would say. When people like tend to try to do this style or emulate this this like moody, dark color grading, they miss the mark a lot because it's not bright enough to actually see it. But Sword did a really, really solid job of color grading this to where, like, you can tell where the rider is at any point in time in the shot, and he's even wearing a black hoodie with a really dark color grading. That's like, this is like high level editing shit that a lot of, we don't really get to talk a lot about on this show, because, there's not a lot of people that can achieve that really high level of color grading and talking about post-production stuff. But Swerve did a really great job of, taking the time to, still have his stylistic choices with his edits. But I definitely thought this was on the lighter side for a lot of his work, and I enjoyed it, quite honestly. But it like, you can tell it's Sword, like, just off the rip.
No, I can just tell it's Sword off the rip, because he has such a different style compared to everybody else. And like all the free writing stuff, he has such a different style compared to Pack, C-Bigs, and Pelster and all that.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this. You know what this this visual effect that he does here? It's like posterizing time.
Yeah, it's like a slow shutter type effect, kind of.
Yeah. You know what this reminds me a lot of? Like the intro to Band of Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is like me being a film nerd a little bit, but like Spielberg does a lot of this in his movies, like opening credits, especially like Band of Brothers. If you go watch the opening to Band of Brothers, it's this right here.
It's been a while since I've seen Band of Brothers. It's been a long ass time, so yeah, I might have to go look at that again.
Dude, it's so good. But anyways, we're not talking about Yeah,
we're not talking about movies here.
But yeah, no, awesome job, Sword. This is really sick. Keep it up, man. I'm just glad that he's making content again. It's been a long time since I've seen anything come out from him. So sweet. Good job, dude. All right, we got introducing Joeman, Norm's co-edit. Hey, Joeman, he's been featured on this show quite a bit. He's come a long, long way from when he first got featured. Like, his shit's pretty quality now. I'm excited for this. All right, 2 minutes.
All right.
Ooh, K-Dub transfer. Hell yeah. Okay. Oh, the fender grab. Hell yeah.
Look over off. Oh, that's cool. I like that.
That's a sick shot.
Hell yeah.
Camera aberration.
Oh, new track. New bike.
Hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Damn,
was-
that
that was
was
solid.
really freaking good, dude. That was solid. That was wow.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
impressed.
I
I'm
enjoyed
impressed.
that. I really like the way that this opens, right? So, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen guys do this a handful of times. Obviously, he took a note out of our episode with Holtzy. He's not going right into the main clip. I'm not a stickler about that as much as Holtzy is, but Holtzy definitely left an
Holtzy
impression.
definitely is, but I don't really care. I mean, as long as it's done right, I don't care really.
Yeah, I'm not a stickler about it, but I really enjoyed the way that he opened this edit. It's super fun. It's creative with the B-roll, and it's quick, right? And the way that he syncs it, I mean, I'm just gonna play it again because it's so fun. Like that was cool. I like
Yeah,
that.
no, I like that a lot.
The
That
middle
feels good.
the
Literally,
middle finger. Yeah. That's
I mean,
awesome.
It has character, it has
yeah.
character.
And then like I would still consider this this next shot here as like B-roll, and then we get the trust the process. Like that's cool. Like this is super fun. I really enjoyed that. Okay, so one thing I really want to touch on is I think depth of field still needs a little bit of work. There's some shots that have it perfectly, and then there's like stuff like this where it's kind of tough to tell. And I think a lot of that would be fixed with like some HDR and color grading to try to bring out this rider.
That's what I was gonna. That's literally what I was gonna say. I was gonna touch on it. Like honestly, like the only thing he really needs to work on is the color grading and making sure that's not like kind of because it kind of looks like the stock game, really.
Yeah.
To me, it does.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it looks like it just says depth of field and he left everything else stock.
Yeah. Like, because I can tell he has depth of field on. Like this
No,
shot.
he has
would not-
depth of field. Yeah, no, it's depth of field. It's just I feel like it's the stock game, like the stock color in the game.
So
I feel like if you spend some time on it, I think his edits will just go up and up and up and even more.
Yeah, and I don't. Okay, so there's one thing that I will say about this. So color grading, I like to get my HDR settings done in reshade before I put them in post. Just it makes color grading your stuff so much easier in post if you have a solid HDR setting. And what I'm talking about is if you look at like some older stuff, right, where you have these guys that are putting out content that's like really blown out saturation wise, like less is more. If you're gonna add HDR, like just fine tune it, like bring up the saturation just a little bit. Doesn't have to be completely blown out, just to try to like bring the colors of the track out just a shade more, and then you can color grade in post to make it look really nice and really solid and seamless throughout. That's the easiest way to do it, instead of just taking a reshade setting or an HDR setting that's super blown out from like 4 or 5 years ago, because it's not going to look good. And honestly, one thing I want to harp on this a little bit, because I've seen it time and time again where people are asking like, oh, what's your reshade setting? What's your reshade setting? And like, I'm always one that, says like, yeah, I'm willing to help, but I have a really hard time and a fundamental issue with people like using other folks' reshade, because those guys put in the time to do it, and if they post it on mods or whatever, like then they're giving you free reign. Awesome. But I have dialed in my reshade settings to the point where like I've spent hours on top of hours getting it dialed in correctly, and I change it all the time whenever it comes to a new track. Like I have a baseline setting that I use all the time, and then you tweak it. But don't take somebody else's reshade setting and start editing with it, because there's guys that have been doing it for a long time. Like, dude, I guarantee there's like 4 or 5 people that I've seen that have your exact reshade settings from, I don't even know, like probably 2 years ago. I don't know how they got a hold of it, but, or if you post.
I think there's still a link.
Yeah. And that's,
that's why I literally put my base, like the basic reshade on the next B mods for people to edit. I literally gave free reign. I literally said you can edit it and whatever, as long as whatever. But that's why I did it, and that's why I And then I have my actual one that I use all the time. That
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that I use.
Yeah, and that's great. Like, if you take a baseline setting, it's like suspension settings, right? So, like, if I were to hop on my buddy's bike, it's probably not going to feel the same for me. But if he has baseline settings, like, I can tweak them to make it comfortable for me. It's the same exact thing with reshade. Make it your own, adjust stuff, and tweak it so it looks good for you. But like, be mindful the fact that, you know, you can go too far. So less is more. Anyways, we're talking about some super high level stuff here.
Yeah,
I want to,
we're getting a little too much in there.
yeah, get nerding out. But I do want to talk about the camera work. Like, this shot, I have not seen a lot of people that do shots like this, and it's really cool to see. It's a change up, right? I enjoyed this edit. For all intents and purposes, was really fun to watch. He's got some cool like texture work that he's doing with some camera aberration, a little bit of film burn. That's just camera aberration, or lens aberration. But that's super cool. He does a great job of changing up his angles, whether, you know, it's actual static position, it's up close, it's far away. You know, I would clean up the snap zooms just a little bit more, but they weren't terrible. I don't know. What are your thoughts, man?
No, like, honestly, you touched on most of them, but yeah, this is a really good edit by him. Like, I think I've seen a couple of his in the past when he first started, and then yeah, it's come a long way. But yeah, just clean up literally a few things. Like, obviously, yeah, get your own reshade, you know, dial in reshade. I mean, honestly, your clips are really good. Like, honestly, you really don't need to do much of the camera movement. Like, you pretty much almost got it dialed in.
Yeah. Camera work is super solid from him. I really enjoyed it. Other than that, man, like, I'm really nitpicking. Like, there's a lot of fun stuff in here. Like, I really like this shot.
This is a shot like me, what I would do.
Yeah. Like,
Standing to the right a little bit and kind of following the rider and make sure it's not like fully on him, but
yeah.
You know, like, literally like my type of style, which is good. I'm glad that people are trying to, you know, like that snap zoom wasn't that bad. Like, that zoom was pretty smooth, honestly. That was not that bad.
Yeah. And okay, so like, here's a way where I think you can clean up this snap zoom, right? So I don't know. It's really hard to tell if he's zooming in or if he's actually like pushing the camera towards the subject a little bit.
I think it might be both.
Yeah, that's a zoom.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a zoom.
So one thing, and I know like it's all subjective, right? Like, all of this is subjective. So one way to clean up this snap zoom is keep your zoom going in a straight line. So you have focused in on this guy, and when he hits the apex of his trajectory, just keep zooming straight forward with this shot and don't track him down, and that would clean this shot up 10 times more. Like, that to me makes way more sense than trying to track the rider down. But I mean, that's my subjective opinion when it comes to like snap zooms. I don't hate it. I'm not sitting here like, oh my God, that was terrible to look at. No, like it's fine, but just an easy way to clean up that shot specifically. Other than that, transition work was cool. It wasn't overdone. It was actually really well put together. Like, I didn't really notice it all that much, and when I did see it, it was very much like, oh, okay, it's a nice little piece of I guess eye candy. Yeah, man, solid job. Keep it up.
Solid.
All right, we got Mayhew. This guy, dude, I've seen a lot of his stuff, and it's super high quality. Like, it's really good.
I don't think I've ever seen any.
For only having 50 subscribers, like, this guy puts out really solid stuff. Like, his shots, his camera work, his reshade is really, really fucking good. All right, minute 7. Oh no.
Oh,
I asked her, can I have your number? Looks like blue must be your color. Love the way you wear that dress, even though your hair's a mess. She said it's Isabel Marant, and I got everything you want. Only questions, can you hang? Will you come and entertain? I will.
Oh, I like the look back. That's sick.
I always like look back. Oh, honestly, this reshade looks like my old reshade from like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this, the way that it like is color graded and everything, like this looks very similar to content that I've seen you put out.
Yeah. All right, whatever. Okay. Honestly, I really don't like the bike sound.
Okay. Just like the
That's the
stock
only thing. Yeah,
450.
well, it's not really stock. It was the 250. It was the CRF 250R mod. I've heard it before. I don't really care. I don't care about it because it literally sounds the same as if you're going far away, anyways. So like in that clip, it's just you see how far he was, and you can still hear it. You can still hear it. He's that far.
Oh,
That's the only thing
sure.
I don't like about that sound mod. But anything else, I mean, honestly, I have no really much gripe on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the shots are good. I wouldn't say this is the best piece of work that I've seen him put out, as far as I'm concerned. I've seen him put out really, really solid stuff. Like, it's fun. I like the song choice. It's got, you know,
Yeah,
this
no,
kind
song
of
choices.
this dreamy style of stuff. There are some things that I really, and I fall victim to this all the time because the way that I play this game, whenever I am susceptible to broken elbows. Because with my whips and everything, like I sit down and it's just like the MX bikes physics. It's really tough, but there are things in particular when it comes to whips in this game. If you really crank that bike over, it will like glitch and like it's like a hanny dip almost at the top.
Yeah, the arm like kind of breaks itself. It kind of goes like all the way frontwards.
Yeah, but like you can barely see it in this clip.
Yeah.
But you see it like it shudders a little bit. Oh, whoops, my bad. So it's stuff like that. It's actually really prevalent in this Oppo, which I thought this shot was so cool.
Yeah, no, I always love the Oppo lookbacks. Like if you have one in there, man, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I mean we're nitpicking here. Other than
Obviously.
that, like this is really well done. I like the reshade settings. The depth of field looks great.
I'd probably tone it down just a little bit.
Yeah, just maybe a shade, but because it's a little blurry. Like right here.
Yeah, at the start, it was a lot of bokeh at the start.
And then it clears up.
And then it clears up, so.
Yeah, not the end of the world.
No.
I like his B-roll. I will say this, like the start noise, like the solenoid kicking off and then there not being a bike sound was a little weird for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm nitpicking. His B-roll is really solid. One thing. Oh, okay. So I did want to mention this. I saw it in an earlier edit tonight. LODs. So limited details. When you're doing these really far away drone shots, man, it's so tough to. And this is just the game, but
It's just the game.
You have to be cognizant of that because you can see it. It's ever so slightly, and if you look at, I think I saw it at the top of the screen, because your camera it's the way that it renders textures. So like your draw distance and everything like that, like even at a certain point in time, like this game will not render in your texture at a very far distance. So that's where having depth of field and stuff like that set up for these really wide angle shots is imperative because you'll see it like flickers. Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that, yeah.
But I mean
some of mine do it too. Like it's just, you can't, it's just the way the game is, sadly. Like I wish, like Sim, like honestly on Sim, you can go as far as you want and it really won't.
Yeah.
disrender it at all,
Yeah.
which is pretty nice.
But again, that is just a nitpick. Like, I know that there's only so much you can do with this game. But it's just like something to keep in mind when you go to do these wide angle shots. Like, try your best to hide your LODs as much as you can. I've fallen victim to it a lot, and
Same.
I don't even notice it until after I've hit post on YouTube, and I'm like,
Yep.
ah, damn it.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it too. It happens to mine all the time. So I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, is what it is. But that's my last little nitpick. But yeah, solid job, Mayhew. Keep it up. Like, I really like seeing your stuff. It's very nice. It's very quality. All right, so that's gonna wrap it up as far as viewer submitted stuff or any sort of viewer edits. But like I said, whenever I have a guest on this show, I like to humble myself and allow the guest to come in and, you know, give myself some feedback on my work, because I think it's, you know, I would be doing myself a disservice as an editor to not have somebody come in and review my stuff as I sit here on this stage or in my chair each week and review and, you know, criticize everybody else's work. So I'm gonna show you my most recent edit, and then do not feel bad. It's no holds bar. We will not leave this conversation feeling less of each other as far as, you know, I'm concerned. If anything that you have, you feel free to, you know, really dive in and give me a solid piece of feedback.
Alrighty, all good.
All right, this one's Sleeping on the Blacktop.
2 minutes 30 seconds. Damn.
It's a long one.
Sunshine beating on the good times, moonlight racing from the grave, string band playing more of that honky tonks, pretty young thing going dancing in the rain. High heel lady spitting at the Nicky Jacks, businessman with a needle and a spoon, coyote chewing on a cigarette pack of young boys going howling at the moon. Hey darling, sleeping on the blacktop. Hey darling, running through the trees, honey. Hey darling, leaving for the next town. Lesson my set sketches up with me. Three dead in a crash on the number 4. 2 witnesses blown up high. Not sure whose will be done. You can call me a sinner for wondering why. Hey darling, sleeping on the blacktop. Hey darling, running through the trees, honey. Hey darling, leaving for the next town. Lesson my set sketches up with me. Corn liquor tastes sweeter in this town. Could it be it's the same as the last? I swear I've seen your face elsewhere before, just as familiar as a bottle and a glass. Hey darling, sleeping on the blacktop. Hey darling, running through the trees, honey. Hey darling, leaving for the next town. Lesson my set sketches up with me. Hey darling, sleeping on the blacktop. Hey darling, running through the trees, honey. Hey darling, leaving for the next town. Lesson my set sketches up with me.
Not bad, not bad. Honestly. I think the only thing, like we were talking about earlier, how like there's a couple shots where we were talking about how the writer, you know, at least you had the writer in the shot.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was a couple clips that you kind of let on a little too much. Like, I don't know, it was like kind of halfway through, like when you're going through the roller section. What was that, side?
Yeah, this shot.
That one, yeah. And I felt like you could have started it a little bit, like, not as far back, and you see kind of left on.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would have cut it just a little bit more, like shorter. Probably would have been a lot better. Obviously, if you're syncing to the song, I can see.
It was a tough song, and we talked about this before the show. Like, it's really hard for me to just not defend myself when it comes to this. But country edits are so tough because it is very slow. So I thought this shot was really long to begin with.
I feel like you started it a little bit too, like, because you're like, it was like a good like 2 seconds before your writer actually came into the thing. It felt like.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
122. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so-
Yeah, I agree. Like, I definitely could have cleaned that up for sure.
yeah, that could have definitely been cleaned up, like easily cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I mean, not much to say. I mean, a couple of the shots are really zoomed in, which is it's really like cool. There's a point to where I don't zoom in much farther. Like that one's like on the brink of being too much zoomed in.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another one too on the Supercross. Like that one was way too much zoomed in. I felt like.
Oh, just a little tight. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little tight, too much. But other than that, I mean, maybe maybe just a little bit more. Yeah, a little more color grade.
Okay. Hell yeah.
That's basically it. I mean, I really liked your shooters at it. That one was really.
Yeah, I figured as much. I threw some shade on you the last show with Holtzy because I was like, oh man, it was like the next day you had one out on a Supercross track with the same song. I was like, dang it.
Yeah, that was on Instagram. That was on YouTube though. So
Yeah. No,
I totally.
I mean,
that, but, yeah.
it is what it is, man. I just thought it was like, oh, interesting. But yeah, no, the shooters edit was one that was really fun to shoot. I love those tracks. JV does such a good
Oh,
job.
man.
Like,
If I could make out on those tracks every day, I would. I love those tracks, man. Those.
that is one thing that I will say. Like, it's so hard for me to not immediately just go to those factory test tracks and shoot because, like, they're so high quality. It's such a good like location to film because
yeah.
there's nothing around. It would make sense in a real scenario. But I've put out probably 10 edits on those tracks, and
Yeah.
it's like, am I really gonna put out another one? It's the same thing with the goat farm, dude. JV tracks, like, it's just hard for me to not do that. And I mean, there's tons of really high quality track creators like Hurin, fucking Pelster does a great job. Stoney does a great job if you can find some Stone Rider tracks that aren't just like stadiums. Like Hazy Hills is a super cool location. The SYS test tracks are a really good location.
Yeah, no, those are really good tracks. I made edits on those, and those are really good for edits, especially the Hazy Hills ones. That's a really good one to make edits on.
Yeah, like he does a really awesome job with the environment. Hell Machine stuff is super fun. It's a little bit more on like the cornier side of bikes. Like there's some big sends, but I mean, I filmed Blur on Sentinel Island, which is like
Man, that's big jumps, big jumps.
yeah, so overscaled. But if you do it right, it looks cool. But yeah, I don't know, man. This was a fun one. Like, I really love Coulter Wall, and I thought it kind of fit that vibe. This is on ET's compound, so it's like that Western style, and that's kind of with like the color grading being a little bit brighter. But yeah, I could definitely understand where, you know, it's not. I think it's just missing like a little bit more. Like shadows and highlights to bring those out. A little bit more saturation.
A little more contrast.
Yeah, just something to bring it out a little bit more. But other than that,
yeah, that honestly, that's good. I didn't have much to really gripe on. Just those things. Your camera work is really good. I mean,
well, I would expect my camera work to be very good if I'm gonna come on the internet every week and talk about people having bad camera work. But yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's just you just have a different style than me, so it's like it's cool to see like different.
Yeah. Well, and that's like my thing, right? So like I could never shoot something that you like the way that you film stuff just because like that's your style. And I like don't get me wrong, like I like your style. Your content is really quality and the way that you shoot it is specifically your style. Like if I look at it, it's like, yeah, this is Murray stuff. I like to take the more like cinematic approach where it's, you know, a lot of dolly shots, a lot of stuff that would be on like a jib or some sort of camera rig, and
Yeah.
go away from, you know, and like even like the way that Shady Wadey shoots his stuff, or no, not Shady. There was somebody, Panic Rev. Like he shoots all of his stuff like it's from an iPhone, where it's like super shaky, like
Yeah.
kind of in your face style. Like it's a cool, unique style.
Yeah.
So everybody has to find their lane, and I feel like a lot of people, you know, are trying to find their lane, and there's so much that you can do with camera work to make it your own. And I can appreciate guys that shoot stuff like you. I can appreciate guys that shoot stuff like Panic Rev, and I can appreciate stuff that, you know, like C-Big shoots, which is a culmination
I love C-Bigs.
of like all of it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just finding a lane and trying to find, you know, ways to appreciate that stuff. But anyways, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. Like it was so fun hanging out with you for the last hour, and well, I mean, we hung out for a little bit beforehand, but basically
Yeah.
2.5 hours. It's been a blast, man.
So much fun. So much fun.
Hell yeah.
Gladly love to be in here. Love giving my, you know, my wisdom, and if anybody in this, I don't know if anybody's in the live or anything, if anybody needs help, just DM me on Discord. Honestly, I'm glad to give anybody help. Glad to help with reshade. Glad to help with any type of anything. You know, just hit me up.
Yeah, and honestly, like you've kind of, you know, been the guy for a lot of like the reshade stuff, the rider feature stuff. Like that's been your shtick for a very long time, and you do such a high quality job doing it. So like you're a wealth of wisdom. I think that's the term. I don't really know. I'm whatever.
Yeah,
But
I know. I get you, man. I get you.
yeah, like you have so much knowledge when it comes to like not only bikes but camera settings and all of that. Because like I don't know if a lot of people know this, but like you film stuff in real life, so you have a lot of knowledge that goes to the, you know, just film in general, and I feel like people can benefit from that. But yeah, so thank you so much again for coming on the weekly review. If you guys don't know what this show is and you've just kind of been hanging out, well, this is a weekly MX Bikes Edits podcast where we go through and review your content, whether it's and submit our feedback, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's all of our subjective opinions to try to, you know, raise the bar for editors across the board just a little bit more. Again, you know, it's all subjective. It doesn't really make a shit bit of difference because we're just two guys on the internet. And if you're just trying to have fun with it, keep having fun. It's
all it's about. It's all about having fun, learning, and just keep at it.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight, man.
Sweet. Yeah, that was awesome.
Awesome. Anything you wanted to plug before we jumped off for tonight?
No, not really. I mean, I don't really have much left.
Hell yeah.
So, just, you know, just all the creators out there and everyone that we watch today, just, you know, take that into consideration and take it as you is and just make it your own. Just make it your own.
Absolutely. Well, if you guys don't know who Murray is, well, I mean, you've probably been living under a rock. Like, this guy's been doing it for a very long time, and he's kind of pioneered the rider feature side of stuff, especially with the way that he shoots. I feel like a lot of people in the bikes edit space definitely emulate your style, but nobody can do it as well as you can. If you are looking to follow him, I'm pretty sure it's at MurrayFilms on just about every platform. Pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Basically.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week, guys. Thank you to everybody that was hanging out in chat, except for Nick. Nick, you're a weirdo. Yeah, no, it was great. Keep submitting each week. You can definitely submit your edits in my Discord. The link is in the description. I will hopefully be back on schedule for next week. It's been a crazy couple of weeks or months with work, and I did not have the bandwidth. But again, thank you, Murray, for coming on the show. It was such an honor to have you on, and I cannot wait to hopefully have you on again in the future.
Let me know, man. I'm down to do whatever.
Absolutely.
So awesome.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us at the weekly review. I'm Dylan Carlson, aka So Called Designs, and we will see you guys next week.